Welcome to Share Talk, the only podcast where investors come first.
We're joined on Share Talk today by Cameron Parry, Chief Executive Officer, Lionsgold Limited. Hi, Cameron.
Hi, Alex.
I was just looking at your last RNS on the 11th of May, the suspension of trading.
Yes.
We've been asked a lot of questions. Can you just go into that a little bit, please?
Yes. So Lionsgold's been building up since I joined the company in late July 2016, and what we did there was sort of tidy up what we thought were the assets in India and where we thought the value of what was there from the previous management and the previous strategy of the company. We then added a couple of other divisions, which was to get some jurisdictional diversification by looking at early stage gold production, high-grade, small-scale mining in Finland, and also to add a financial technology division to the company where we could be focused on the retail application of gold, which is the primary resource that we're interested in. So during the course of 2017, in early 2017, February, I think we changed the name of the company to Lionsgold and got the ticker Lion. We continued to incrementally increase our position in that financial technology side of a subsidiary company, which was started at 27%. Then we went to 35% in July. Last year, we went to 55% and took majority control. And then in April, just gone, in 2018, this year, we moved to 100%, which was just to make sure that all of the financial benefit of what we were developing, which is called Gold Block, and it's a gold currency that can sit in a customer's bank account, that whilst we're organically growing that between Lionsgold and the company that was called Track Technology, which we've now renamed recently to Gold Block Limited. That product was designed by myself and the CEO of Gold Block Limited. So that is really what we're building this other arm of the business about. The historical business of Track Technology, which was an online gold trading exchange, where individuals could have an online account and then put money in it, and at the right time sort of operate it like a stockbroking account, where they're looking at the timing in the market when they want to buy gold or buy silver or sell gold or silver. That's all sort of being wound down, and it really is the focus on this gold currency that we've created. But anyway, during the process, and we've increased our positions in our Finland joint venture and also in our Indian company that is India's leading gold exploration company with 36 prospecting licenses or mining leases in application. So they have one mining lease now at Jonagiri and have had for some time. We've been developing that part of the business, and we do that at every stage in discussion and communication with our Nomad, and that's the regulatory structure on AIM to do that. So yeah, we were just carrying on, really evolving and expanding the business strategy that we've laid out. I think somewhere very recently, how the regulatory structure works. There's been a second, a review, or someone's taken a retrospective look at the evolution of what we're doing on the financial technology side, and deemed that to be a fundamental change in business direction, which we don't necessarily agree with, but if that is the view taken in that AIM regulatory framework, then obviously we live with that. But it's quite a technical thing. We as Lionsgold, the business just carries on. So we're bringing out Gold Block this quarter, as we've stated previously many times that we would. We will have on the MasterCard network, you'll have a debit card attached to that product, so that you can buy and save and spend gold at your leisure with the ease of everyday banking, and with that certainty of the global banking network, but of course with the security and stability that comes with directly owning a physical, tangible asset, such as gold, which is the world's original decentralized currency, and what all of our money was backed by or tied to, for the last 5,000 years, except for the last 50 years, which then all of our currency is debt backed. So the suspension is nothing to do, I suppose, with a fundamental change in our business or anything like this, but it is a technical thing. We go through an emission document process now. There is a cost to that, which we probably prefer to not to avoid if we could have, but anyway, this is what we're dealing with. Even as the announcement says, it's a very straightforward thing. But I suppose for shareholders, whenever you see a share that you own that's suspended for trading, it can be unsettling. But aside from that, nothing's changing. We're just carrying on. We're building the business. We're growing value. And when we do come back on to the market, we expect the price to re-rate. And we would have expected that increase in value to happen while we were on the market, and you would have seen it perhaps more gradually, whereas we continue to build the business and that value, and then when we come back on the market, the market will judge what that is then worth as a company that now is in revenues. Well, at that time, will be in revenues, with its gold currency product out and available and being used, as well as advances that we're making in India and Finland.
So, can I touch on there? So if you guys are suspended, make it, say 3 months, just make a figure up. You guys are...
3 to 4 months we say, so
easy
to use.
So 3 to 4 months.
Yep.
So you're working in the background. So that means, are you allowed to release any news now, or do you have to wait till that period is closed before then you can just bring it out?
No, not only are we allowed to, we're required to. So we're still
material changes. You've got to announce
on
them.
AIM. Yeah, anything that that is price sensitive or a regulatory news announcement, worthy announcement, then we have to. We still announce that. So we'll be announcing when gold blocks release. We'll be announcing when we with an update about India. We'll be announcing when we get our first gold in Finland from the equipment testing that's going on at the moment with the 200 tons that we're licensed to do. All these things. So it's just that you won't see the share price move, and anybody who wants to get into the company can't get in, can't get access to the shares. As far as the company goes, we're just not able to be traded on that market.
It's business as usual.
Even down to we could issue shares. It's kind of like having a private company again. So, even if you had one shareholder wanting to buy some shares off another shareholder, they can do that transaction, but they just can't do it on the market.
I've got to touch on this. The thing I don't understand is on the 23rd of April, the RNS that was released by Lionsgold stated that you had 100% ownership of Track and Gold Block, and then we jump forward to the 11th of May. Then obviously your Nomad or the AIM market, somebody's reviewed it, looked at it, and decided to suspend you. It's just so confusing because it's been the public domain since the 23rd of April.
And it depends when you think it. If as it states in the RNS that it's been determined the company has undertaken a fundamental change of business through the acquisition of Track. Does that occur when you become a majority owner? Or does it occur when you have absolute ownership? We went to 55% in July 2017. So it is, it's part of the regulatory... There's
no clarification, is there really?
No, but it's kind of a moot point anyway, because the decision has been made. We don't necessarily agree with that decision, but it's been made, and therefore we now deal with it, and we work within that regulatory framework to come back on that market, and we're happy to do all that. It is just a little bit out of the blue for shareholders. It's a little bit out of left field for the company as well. But apart from that, it's not very good if people wanted to buy and sell shares in the meantime. That's the bit that's now restricted. Everything else just carries on. and there is some added expense now that we have to incur to admission document process. I'm sure it's not a perfect situation for us or for the Nomad or for who the Nomad reports to at AIM.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it is where we're at, and we are, we just crack on and do our work. We keep building the businesses as we were and as planned, and we'll also do this other work to make sure that everything on the regulatory side for our shares being able to be traded on AIM is done as required.
I've got a couple of questions from shareholders. Is it okay if I ask them, Cameron?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
In no particular order. The first one, is a placing to raise funds needed, do you think?
So there is an extra expense in going through this process, and I suppose that is one thing that having your shares suspended from trading, that is one of the things that it can affect your ability to raise capital for a public listed company, obviously, if their shares aren't quoted. Cash in the bank, and we've also got a lot of warrants at 1.2p still outstanding. We have the right to enforce those to be exercised. We will look at whether we want to try and encourage those to be exercised in the lead up to the end of our financial year, which is 30th of June. We don't need to go anywhere else to try and raise money. That said, if there was a strategic, so once Gold Block's released and once we can actually demonstrate some numbers, some metrics of customer acquisition numbers, this type of thing, then it may be, there may be a strategic investor worth coming in at that point at a price we can agree that may also help reset what the price is that the stock comes back on the market at. So we would, we would never say never to doing that. There may be a strategic reason to do it, but as far as needing money, we don't need money outside of what we've already, what we already either have in the bank or what we could easily line up.
Second question, when is Gold Block 2 being released?
This quarter.
That's a good answer.
So that's the same as it's always been. Software's always not an exact thing to complete, but that's why we've always said it's this quarter rather than giving a specific date.
This one's interesting. It's been mentioned of a listing via the Indian market. Can you tell us any more?
No, that was just, not really, because that was just complete fake news.
Oh, really?
Sorry to use that term. What I mentioned in Manchester at a share talk, Q&A thing after a presentation I did a couple of months back at your show, Alex. There is opportunity for us. We're very interested in India as a growing global market, as a global player, and our foothold in India is through mining. So that's an obvious route for us to continue to try and expand on. There's legislative change that we believe coming in how tenements and licenses are held and the continuity of that ownership to be protected if you develop an asset and then sell it, so that exploration companies can develop assets and then sell them to mining companies, for example, at the different phase of the cycle, or producing companies, I should say. So what I did mention is that one of our corporate strategies or corporate objectives is for Lionsgold to get a position, a shareholding position of a Bombay Stock Exchange listed company. That's not for Lionsgold or for Gold Block to list. Lionsgold's already listed, albeit we're suspended from trading at the moment. So there's a lot of opportunity on the Bombay Stock Exchange. We do believe that the mining sector on the BSE will rapidly expand with a couple of changes to their listing rules over there, and we think that will naturally occur, and that will be coming over the it still may be a couple of years, but we think that will occur. So we're just getting our positions set early to maximise all these things. And then, of course, the link between India and what we do on the financial technology side with Gold Block, which we're releasing initially in the UK, that is a fantastic natural fit of a market for us to then release, to to release Gold Block in India next year. So that's a target of the company's. But yeah, as far as we're not looking at dual listing or anything. If that was the question about Lionsgold or Lionsgold leaving London on list in Bombay, in Mumbai, I should say, on the Bombay Stock Exchange. So yeah, but I did see somebody texted me a snapshot of it. There was an article or something with a headline saying that Gold Block is being listed on the BSE, and then it came down or something. But that was nothing to do with us. That's just complete fake news. I mean, there's so much nonsense and so many falsehoods spread around, which you kind of get used to on bulletin boards and things like this. But that was presented as though there was an article, a financial article covering this. It has nothing to do with us. We don't know where that came from, and it certainly didn't have 1 ounce of fact to it.
The mystery of the bulletin boards.
Well, I guess you can kind of, kind of make anything look like a real story nowadays pretty easily on a person's computer, and I think that's just what somebody's done. It's just a mischievous thing, but so I can't actually explain it because it's got nothing to do with us.
That leads us nicely on to the next question. How is Gold Block going to be marketed?
In a word, digitally. We fortunately at the guys behind Gold Block and how we roll this out, we've all got a few grey hairs now from our earlier, entrepreneurial things that the individuals have done. So we don't need to make a big noise about Gold Block up front or pre-market it, because one of the benefits of having a public company is that we do have a forum, we do have a soapbox, being a regulatory news flow, that allows us to let the world know that this product is now available and what it's about. And we've already, to some degree, explained what it is about and what is coming. And then it's just a case of making sure we spend our money and, shareholder asset, very intelligently, in a very targeted and purposeful manner. And we believe we've selected the right, digital marketers, digital PR agency, and digital, analysis company to sort of optimise what our spend would be on marketing and how we focus that once it's released and on an ongoing basis. So yeah, digitally is the main way we'll be marketing that.
Can Lion reach a 70 to 100 million market cap in 2019, in your opinion?
Yes. If we had, not saying we would achieve this, but so let's say it was 100, you would want to be able to, I think, show that you have annualized net profit. This is just as a completely hypothetical. I think if we got to the point of showing we have annualized net profit of 5 million a year from Gold Block, for example, then we would easily be worth 100 million. You'd get a 20 times PE on that. I should say not net profit, earnings. If we could show there's 5 million of earnings in Gold Block at some point during that year, that may not be the case. We're certainly not suggesting that's the case. Initially, what we want to do is get to 20,000 users. We want to demonstrate through the transactional fees and the market making that we can generate revenues from through the Gold Block business model. That we can achieve an annualized figure of 10 million in revenues, and it'll be somewhere around 20% of that as earnings. So if you kind of work on the multiple that I was just referring to, that'd be 2 times 20 might be around 40 million as a market cap. That's and again, that's purely hypothetical. There's so many other factors that go into what a market cap is. But if we're around 50 million, we no longer become, we lift off from being a market cap, and that's the important thing we want to achieve as a first step.
Nice. The final question. The financial position of Track is particularly weak based on the recent filings. How do you aim to tackle this, Cameron?
Well, it's not weak, it's just small. It's a small business.
I don't write these questions.
No, sorry, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just sort of clarifying. That business has been going for 5 or 6 years, and if you want to get into gold, if you want to do it in a scalable way, you must have time in that industry. You can't just be a startup going, we're going to do all this with gold and we're going to move, kilos of gold a month and all this. I mean, you just can't. I mean, there is a money laundering aspect to gold historically, nothing to do with what most of the players nowadays are doing, and certainly nothing to do with what we're doing. But you do need to build up those relationships, and it takes time in any market. One of the reasons we're so focused on what's going on in India and our 21.5% stake in GM Mysore is because other people have spent 20 years building up that portfolio. And often with these things, what you're actually investing is you're buying the time that they've been there doing it, because somebody has to do this. So Track had been a trading business for 5 or 6 years in the market with gold, providing online accounts for people to put their cash in and then buy and sell gold as they might use a share broking account, online share broking account. And Gold Block, we've developed, sort of from that between myself and Rafe, the other CEO, to come up with this product that we're now releasing. And thanks to the platform that's being developed by Nigel Verdon and Clive Mitchell at Railsbank, we're actually able to deliver on our vision for this product, and that is to get your direct ownership of physical gold represented in your bank account. And that hasn't been done before. So anyway, so Track, that business, it's a business that business model, the old business model, whilst it was small and it was, the size of a small business, there were reasons for that, which I'm well aware of. So that's why we were happy to come in, and we got such a low valuation to begin with, as you could probably expect off the historical financials, although there was lots of potential there, which obviously we're fulfilling now, which is why we did it. But even that business model where we will be closing down, because it'll all be about Gold Block. I mean, to have a gold currency is just a unique, powerful thing, and that's where we see the future for, in that side of Lionsgold's business. So it's not really anything to do with the previous historical business model. So it's irrelevant. It is a small business. It's a robust business, but it is also kind of a moot point moving forward. So
no, that's great, Cameron.
It's just unimportant, those figures.
I'm sure your shareholders will appreciate you answering the questions. You just touched on Railsbank there, Nigel, and yourselves, Lionsgold. You'll be at our show this weekend in Birmingham.
Yeah. Oh, geez, I knew you'd get a plug in for Share Talks presentation up in Walsall. No, that's right, Alex. We plan to do this. I can't remember when we agreed to do it. It was about a month ago or something. And obviously the suspension of our shares is a bit untimely and a little bit unexpected, but nevertheless, it is business as usual. I'm always happy to meet with people. It's great to see, the turnouts at some of these events. I think Share Talks is a great grassroots kind of investor, focused business, and so that's always a good thing. So yeah, we'll be there. Look forward to presenting, and I can maybe answer. I mean, I'll probably repeat a lot of what we're saying now, but I'm certainly happy to try and answer as best I can without pointing any fingers or I don't know, that type of thing. But to answer about the suspension of trading, but also generally about our other things, and it is the positive things that obviously, that'll make or break Lionsgold. That is, the release of Gold Block, the project being developed in India, the other assets being developed in India, the opportunities that we are open to in India because of our position there, what's happening in Finland. We are interested in, delivering a gold currency to the world, and we're interested in making sure we can source, at least in part, have control of some of the sources of the physical gold that we will need to get, because ultimately that could become our rate limiting step. And that is that we can't have people open a Gold Block account if we can't supply the physical gold for them. So at the moment we can get all that from the market, and that's fine. But if years to come, the value of physical gold is seen as different to the value of synthetic gold, which is like a a paper right to some gold, so like an ETF or a futures contract, something like this, where you don't have direct ownership of the physical, tangible gold. So if there's a different price there, and the two global spot prices, diverge, and then it is possible that, gold is a scarce resource, so we may be limited in what supply we can get. So we need to have our other sources of gold to make sure we can back up our own supply. Because if we can't do that, we wouldn't be able to open more and more customer accounts with Goldblock. So these are the positives, but we've got a lot ahead of us in Lionsgold, and the next 3 or 4 months, you just won't see the value that we're building. It won't be reflected in a stock price, in a share market price, because that's suspended. But everything else is going on, and we've got a long and hopefully very positive road ahead, because there's a lot to be done here. It's a very big opportunity for Lionsgold, so we intend to carry it out.
Well, I could twist it on its head there. If you think like a shareholder, if you guys are going to release news on a continuous basis over the next 3 to 4 months, it could be an interesting scenario when your share does come back to the market.
Yeah, particularly if there's one or two things we can do to demonstrate that the company is worth more than
the current price.
2.65 price reflects, which is about 13 million market cap. And then, and there may be some other people trying to get positions straight away, which may also push the price up, or to clear positions, which may, mean that the price gets pushed up initially as well. So it should be exciting. It's slightly unfortunate that it's less exciting in the next 3 or 4 months because the stock's not traded. But it's just as exciting as it was. All the fundamentals are there. We continue to develop the business. We're not desperate for money. So it's onwards and upwards as always with Lion. But it is slightly unsettling for shareholders, for whatever the reason. And obviously it's not like a business health reason for us to be suspended, but for whatever the reason, to see your shares suspended in a company that you own shares in, it is a little bit unsettling. And, and for that, we're sorry if anybody does feel, has felt unsettled or whatever, but there's nothing more than just a technical situation there as to why we've had to do that, which we're now getting resolved. It'll just take 3 or 4 months. But the company is still building on its promise and building all of the value that we kind of mapped out. You just won't see that reflected in the share price while we do it. But you will once we come back on the market, I expect.
Cameron, I look forward to catching up with you at the weekend, and thanks very much for taking the time to talk to your shareholders and answering the questions.
No problem, Alex. Good to speak with you again. And I look forward to seeing yourself and anybody else who's in attendance on Saturday night. I'm looking forward to presenting.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.